Hi everyone, Luke here with the Knee Replacement Therapist. In this episode of the Knee to Know Show, we're going to talk about and demonstrate how to get the best range of motion after your knee replacement surgery, both flexion and extension. Before I jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications so you can catch all of our videos related to knee replacement surgery. So I'm going to talk about 5 or 6 really important overlying big principles when it comes to achieving your best range of motion after surgery. If you want to just skip ahead and go right to the exercises, feel free to do that. That will be the second part of this video. But real quick, let me just share some real big overlying principles. One is start early and often. So you need to start your range of motion activities early, the same day of surgery ideally, or the day after. We're getting up, we're getting mobile, we're walking a little bit, probably with a therapist, and you're also starting to move not just your body, but moving that knee, bending, straightening, doing some heel slides, things like that. We want to be consistent as well, so that's the often part, especially early on after surgery when that scar tissue hasn't remodeled, hasn't been laid down quite yet, that collagen, that connective tissue. That's the optimal time to really regain as much of our range of motion, our bending, our straightening, as we possibly can. So early on after surgery, we want to do our range of motion activities multiple times per day. Ideally at least 3 times per day, maybe even up to 5 times per day, going through your 3 or 4 different range of motion exercises. Another big thing, again, especially early on after surgery, those first few days, those first couple weeks, is staying on top of your pain and your swelling. So staying on top of pain can be a multimodal approach. Big time, definitely taking any pain medicine, taking it before 30 minutes, an hour before you're doing either a physical therapy session or doing the exercises by yourself. That's going to help take the edge off a little bit and help you tolerate a little bit more. Bend that knee a little bit further, extend it a little bit more, and get those improvements in your range of motion because you can tolerate the exercises and activity. Of course, using other non-pharmacological methods is great. Icing, compression, elevation, doing the exercises themselves is a form of pain management. And of course, there's all sorts of different strategies out there and are great to utilize any of them that you find beneficial. So staying on top of the pain. Another big thing with range of motion exercises and activities is mix it up. Most people are going to find one position where they tend to get the best benefit, the most range of motion. And it's going to vary between person to person. Some people it's lying down flat on their bed or on their sofa. Some people it's in a seated position. And some people it may even be in a standing position or laying on their stomach. And if that works best for you, then that's great. Let's run with it and work with it. But you want to mix it up because you're getting different inputs, different neurological inputs. You're kind of tricking the brain and tricking your nervous system a little bit when you change it. Your body inherently and as a way will kind of subconsciously be very protective of your body because you're having pain and swelling and they want to protect the body. They'll stiffen up the muscles. They'll kind of restrict you from getting the best range of motion. So one very subtle way to kind of mix things up is just doing a different exercise or doing a similar exercise in a different position. So going from supine, laying on your back, into a sitting position, standing, laying on your stomach, laying on your side even, mixing up the different positions as you do your routine. Another big thing is, again, consistency over intensity though. We can go intense a little bit some of the time, but really we want to find this happy medium with the intensity. Focusing a lot more on a lot of repetitions and a lot of prolonged time in these end ranges of motion of bending or maximal bending or maximal straightening. Spending a lot of time in those positions and doing a lot of repetitions going into those positions is going to be more important and more beneficial than just going max out intensity all the time. Now we do want to go at a good enough intensity where we're getting those improvements. There is going to be some pain, there is going to be discomfort, but we don't have to maximally 100% all the time. If you want to think about it, maybe 75, 80% of the time, most of the time, and then every now and then doing that max one just to kind of see where you are and get those benefits. So it's kind of finding that happy medium. Not too light, where we aren't getting those improvements, but not too intense, where we're causing an extreme flare-up of pain and symptoms, and then you're not going to be able to tolerate, doing your exercises for the rest of the day or maybe the next day either. So consistency, lots of repetitions over maximal intensity is more important than maximal intensity. And then I would say definitely don't neglect your other exercises. We all want to see that great number, that great, 125 degrees or 110 degrees or whatever it is of bending, of knee flexion. And it really feels like we accomplish something when we get those improvements and see them. But there's a lot of things that are just as important. The big one being strengthening, building back your strength. There's a lot of weakness and muscle atrophy due to surgery, building up your quadriceps, your hip musculature, your hamstrings, your calf muscles. Really important to build up those that strength so we can maintain your function, maintain your mobility as best we possibly can. You're walking, going up and down stairs, getting up from surfaces. And then, of course, balance and stability is a very important thing as well. Making sure you feel balanced and stable in your environment and with the different things you're doing to, one, help avoid any falls or any incidences, but also just feeling that independence and that confidence. And one other thing I always recommend to my patients is just keep yourself moving. So, of course, we're keeping that knee moving, we're bending, we're straightening, we're doing our range of motion exercises, we're doing our other exercises, but just keep your body moving as well. Lots of walking throughout the day. Doesn't have to be very long or very intense. Again, we're kind of finding that happy medium, building up slowly as we progress in our rehab. And maybe just walking around the house and doing that every 20 minutes or 30 minutes is I'm going to do a little loop around my house, maybe go down the sidewalk, a few hundred feet and come back, whatever that may be. Just slowly, just like we're starting to move and bend our knee, we're starting to move our body as well and maintain our body. That's going to help with mobility, pain management, and lots of important things after surgery. So now we're just going to go ahead and jump into a bunch of the great exercises that you can do for your knee extension or straightening, as well as the knee bending after knee replacement surgery. So let's jump into the exercises. All right, so I just want to start with some of the most common exercises for knee range of motion that you can perform in a lying down position. You can do these lying down on your bed, on the couch, if you feel comfortable, on the floor, wherever you have a nice flat area. So the first one I'll go over is quad sets, a very common exercise. Usually I like to use a rolled up towel or a few rolled up towels. You're going to put that under your heel with the leg out straight. You can actually do this in this position as well, or lying down on your back. And all you're going to do, simple enough, you're going to try to push your knee down into the surface as you try to straighten it, contracting your quadricep muscles of the front of your thigh. And then you're going to hold that for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever you can tolerate, and then just relax. Contract, hold it 5-10 seconds, and then relax. There's a lot of different variations you can do from this simple exercise, the quad set. You can add weight onto your thigh, so a big ankle weight, and that can help give some downward pressure, and you can hold it for a prolonged stretch or a prolonged time in that extended position. You can use a strap around the foot, pulling that strap tight, getting a little bit of a stretch as you do the quadricep set. And there are some other variations that I'll show you in a seated position as well. So that's the quadricep set for knee extension. Another extension or straightening exercise, we call it short arc quads. So you're going to put the towel right under your knee, and usually I'll use something a little bit bulkier just to get a little more range of motion. But all you're going to do is, again, contracting your quadricep muscles. You're going to lift your foot, lift your heel up off the table, try to get to that maximum amount of knee extension. You can even hold the top of that motion for a few seconds and then just let it come back down. Some people like this exercise compared to the quad sets because you get a little bit more visual that you're actually contracting those muscles and extending the knee fully. And you can do multiple repetitions. Again, you can do holds, hold it for 5-10 seconds as best you can, and then let it come down. A lot of different variations you can do with what we call a short arc quad, doing a quadricep contraction, straightening the knee in this long sitting or a lying down position. We can also do straight leg raises. So with a straight leg raise, the important thing is you're actually doing the quad set. You're contracting your quadriceps, keeping the knee straight before you raise the leg up. So do that quad set, and now we're going to keep your knee straight, keep your leg straight as we go up and down. Just nice and controlled. You don't have to go super high. You don't have to fling the leg or do too fast. We will go nice and controlled, maintaining that knee extension, that straight knee throughout the repetitions. Usually I'll do maybe 10 repetitions at a time and then relax. So really it's just a quad set, contracting your quadriceps, straightening the knee with that added movement of the leg raise. The next exercise is for knee flexion or bending, and that is the heel slides. So again, a very common one. I like to use the stretching strap. You can use whatever you have available. A rolled up bed sheet, a rolled up towel works just as well. Putting that around the ball of your foot. You're just going to slide your heel up toward your bottom as your knee bends. You really want to get as much flexion coming from the leg itself before you start pulling. And then when you kind of get to that sticking point where you feel like you can't bend any further, that's where you give that moderate to a little more than moderate intensity pull. Try to get those few more degrees of knee bending or flexion, and then just let it relax down. Similar to the quad set, you can do prolonged holds. Hold it for 5-10 seconds at the top of your bending or flexion, and then let it relax. Or you can do a little bit smoother, just do some repetitions, get some blood flow, get some movement in the leg and muscles. That's an option as well. And that's the heel slides. And then one more exercise I like to do in a lying down position is kind of a combination working on both your flexion and your extension. And it's also a great exercise for stretching some of the muscles and a little bit of a nerve glide. So moving your sciatic nerve, making sure there's good mobility through your nerves. And what you're going to do, you're going to lie down, you're going to bend your hip up so that you can hug underneath your thigh and your hamstrings. And then all you're going to do in a slow and controlled manner, you're going to bring your foot up toward the ceiling, straightening your knee as much as you can. Hold it there a second, and then nice and slow and controlled, just let the knee flex and bend back down toward your butt. Hold it there a second or two, and then you're just going to alternate up and down. Usually I'll do about 10 or 12 times going both up and down. And you'll feel that stretch and that pull, especially at the top of the range of the motion. So you're working on your flexibility, your nerve mobility, as well as your range of motion at the same time. And I find this is a great exercise to do to loosen up stiff knees and stiff muscles. So I like to do this towards the beginning of my sessions. Alright, so then I'm just going to switch things up now and show you a couple exercises we can do in a seated position. Alright, so here are just a couple of my favorite range of motion exercises you can do in a seated position, both for knee straightening and for knee flexion and bending. So the first one I want to go over is quad sets. You can do this in a seated position as well. So one way to do it is with something out in front of you, if that's another chair, a stool, a step. You can also just do it from the ground with your leg on the ground and your heel on the ground as well. I'll show you here with the chair, and I like to use just a rolled up towel or a little pillow just for a little bit of comfort. And you're just going to get your leg out in a chair in front of you, and all you're going to do is contract your quadricep muscles, those muscles of your thigh, trying to push the knee down toward the floor into a more straight position. And you can hold this, you can hold it for 5 seconds, you can hold it for 10 seconds, even longer if you feel comfortable getting that prolonged hold as well. And then just relax, let the knee bend and relax a little bit. And then go and do it again. Contract, squeeze that muscles of your quadricep. Try to push the knee down toward the floor. And then relax. There's a lot of different variations and things you can do with this. One thing you can do are prolonged holds, so where you're actually getting the knee up in that straight position, and you can put a big ankle weight on your thigh and let the gravity of that push the knee down into extension. You can put a grocery bag with the straps on either side of the knee and put some, something heavy, 10, 15 pounds, and let that gravity push down into knee extension. You can get a stretching strap and give a little extra pull, give a little extra stretch for your hamstrings and calves as you do your quadricep set. So there's a lot of different variations and things you can work off of with the traditional quad set that you can do in seated or, as I showed before, in a supine or laying down position. Another exercise from the seated position is just seated knee extensions, or you may hear these referred to as long arc quads. So you want to sit up in your chair, sit forward so you have enough of your thigh off the edge of the chair. And all you're going to do is a nice slow controlled knee straightening, knee extension. Really feel that contraction of your quadriceps, especially up at the top of your range of motion, and then just let it relax back down. And usually I like to do this for repetitions. If you're doing it without weight, you can do maybe 15 repetitions, 2 or 3 sets. If you feel like you're really getting that full extension, that full knee straightening, at that point then I would say you can add a little bit of weight. But if you aren't quite to the full knee extension, I would just focus on doing it without weight, really focusing on that contraction at the end of the range of motion where you're getting that maximal knee extension, and then relax back down. The last one here in the seated position is actually working for your knee flexion. And this is going to be heel slides. So again, you're up sitting on the edge of your chair. You're going to start with your foot out in front of you a little bit. And you're just going to slide your foot back as you bend the knee. And you can bring your heel up as you come back even further. Get to your max amount of bend. And you can actually use your other foot to give an extra little push, or you can use the strap. If you wrap it around the chair, so you put it around the ball of your foot, and then underneath the chair, so you can actually use the strap to help give an extra little bit of overpressure, and then let it relax back down. Same thing as with the quad sets. Get to kind of your max potential. Hold it for 10 seconds or as much as you can tolerate, and then just let the knee come back out to a more relaxed position. So you can do kind of just repetitions like this, in and out, or you can get to the max amount, hold it 10 seconds, 15 seconds, really bending it, and then just let it relax back out. So those are a few seated exercises, and now I'm just going to switch things up and show you a few things you can do in standing as well. So one of my favorite standing exercises for working on knee range of motion, or knee extension in particular, is TKEs, which stands for terminal knee extensions. So you can do these without any resistance, but I like to use just a TheraBand, a strap, and I actually put a little loop on one end of the strap, and I'm going to put that around my leg, and it's going to end up right at the crease of my knee. If that's a little uncomfortable, you can always put it a little above or a little below as well. And you're just going to step back a little bit so you have some resistance. And you're going to start with your knee in a little bit of a flexed or bent position, and then you're going to contract your muscles, your quadriceps, and you're going to push the knee back against the band till the knee becomes straight, and then relax. So push and relax. So again, working on your knee extension, working on contracting those quadricep muscles. You can do this in essentially a neutral hip position. You can do this with the hip flexed and the leg a little bit forward. And you can also do that with the hip a little bit extended or behind the other leg like this. So these are TKEs, or terminal knee extensions. Again, you don't necessarily need the resistance, but it does give a good cue to help with the motion. And we're working on your knee extension. So let me go ahead and I'll show you a few more standing range of motion exercises. So this next standing exercise actually starts from a seated position. So you can probably guess what it is. It's going to be sit to stands. This really is a strengthening exercise as well, but really a great way to work on your knee range of motion throughout doing the exercise with good form and technique. So starting from a seated position, you can put your arms across your body. You can push up if you need that little bit of support still. You're just going to hip hinge, try to keep a neutral back position as best you can. Stand up and then back down. And the way to make this a good exercise for your range of motion is make sure when you come up, we're going to get all the way up. So you're going to extend the knees as much as you possibly can, get the back up nice and tall, standing nice and tall, and then come down nice and slow and controlled. So extend, straighten the knees, and then come back down. So just doing this motion is going to work on that knee range of motion. And the same thing goes for other standing weight-bearing exercises. So very similar, of course, to the sit to stand is just doing squats. So for most people, I recommend supported squats. So holding onto your counter or a tabletop, just coming down, letting the knees bend, and then come back up. I'm not going to go too deep just because this chair isn't very supportive, but if you're holding onto the counter or the kitchen sink, you can really sit back into that motion and let the knees bend and go even past that 90 degrees level. So that's your sit to stands, or excuse me, your body weight squats. Oh, I'm going to keep the chair. Another one we can do is lunges. So staggering your feet, trying to keep a nice, good staggered position, keeping your back relatively straight and neutral, letting it come down, and then back up. So again, you'll see, and you can do this with both legs forward, so working both sides, and in both instances, there's a significant amount of knee range of motion, bending and straightening. So bending, of course, as you come down, and as you come back up, getting that terminal extension, that straightening position. So again, a strengthening, focused activity that's also going to build range of motion as you perform it with good technique. And then the last one I just want to share is a simple one, doing step-ups. So again, up to the step, a little bit of knee flexion, but as we come up onto the step, we're straightening our knee, we're extending all the way up to again get that benefit of knee extension, range of motion, as we also get the strengthening benefit as well. So I hope you found the information and exercises provided in this video helpful and gives you the tools that you need to get the most range of motion and the best range of motion you possibly can after your knee replacement or other surgery. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave your comments or questions below. And again, be sure to hit that subscribe button if you don't already so you can catch all of our latest videos. Thank you for watching.